Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So this is a great follow-on to the last talk, I think, and this is very important for everybody in this room that's trying to build a company. I'm going to talk about making more money, okay, without ads, and avoid raising capital your entire life, okay? How many of you just keep thinking about the next round, the next round? Probably too many. Guys, I talk to a lot of guys. They're always talking about raising the next round. They're not spending enough time thinking about how they themselves are going to make money. So a little bit about me. My name is Jeff Tinsley. I'm that tired guy pictured to the right, as it says there. So I've been in the space, the consumer and business internet space, for 18 years. I'm the current founder and CEO of myLife.com. Founded the marketplace for domain names called Great Domains, sold it after the market had crashed, and we sold it for $100 million, and I was the largest shareholder because I actually had a quality product and service and one that made money. I'm a founder and investor in many companies, including one that's a paywall solution provider called MediaPass, so I have a lot of knowledge in some of the choices that you have around models to make money. And I'm proud that I won Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year for myLife. Okay. I don't think anybody in this room would say that they're making enough money, right, from the product or service or whatever they're offering right now. Anybody happy with how they're doing right now? Raise your hand. I'm not happy with how we're doing. Oh, he's the gentleman over there. You should go talk to him. He's doing really well. He's got a big smile on his face. Okay. You're not making enough money, and I'm hoping that I can help more of you succeed with some of what I'm going to share with you. The point that I'm going to make, and I make this to a lot of people that I work with, is that you have to think about more than your product. From day one that you start a company, you need to think about more than your product or service. You need to think about more than just your distribution or how you're going to attract customers. You need to think about how you're going to make money from day one, and identify potential opportunities, potential revenue models for you to consider. All right, here's a big one. Advertising doesn't work. You heard the gentleman before me talking about this a little bit. I think the ad market's dead. Unless you're a top 100 ComScore site or a publisher on the web, it's a tough market. I wrote here, unless you have a very special, unique audience, which you probably don't, really. You don't have that valuable of an audience, trust me. Advertising is not gonna work for you guys. So, here's just a couple of quotes about the ad market. Ad growth has peaked. This is a quote from MarketWatch, October 2012. Let's just read it together. Google, the largest seller of internet advertising, has reported a 15% year-over-year drop in price of search ads. And perhaps that's accelerating. Online ad business is undergoing a massive shift away from text-based or static display ads. And then the next one, growth in programmatic buys has forced overall ad prices to fall. Oh, I probably should have mentioned this on the slide before. I wish I had the statistics in front of me. I read something recently that a disproportionate share of all the ad spend actually goes to like the top 5 guys, or the top 5 guys reaching all the traffic. The other gentleman had mentioned, kind of alluded to that fact as well. Advertising doesn't work. So, media companies, they're an interesting example of the ad model not working. So this is a crazy statistic, okay? And this is real. For media companies with print and online content, online traffic accounts for 90% of their reader attention. That's where people are going online to read what they have to offer, yet it's only generating 10% of their revenue, and they're all dying. Good news is for them is they're actually a bit ahead of the curve in terms of testing models, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. But you can see that quote there. There's a fear and frustration among media companies that advertising alone won't sustain their businesses in the months and years ahead. That's the Internet Advertising Bureau. Holy shit. Or, everybody in this room should be paying attention to this. This is a big deal. So, I want people to learn from the last ad bubble. Let's go through some history here, just very quickly. 1995 or so to 2000, remember internet just getting going and everything, everyone's excited. Bunch of money coming into the market. I want to drive eyeballs, eyeballs, eyeballs. You heard it in the last talk. Again, ad model. Super Bowl ads? Did someone? Super Bowl ads, all that kind of stuff. No revenue. I'm going to make a ton of money from ad revenue. I just need eyeballs. Late 2000, market crashes, right? People start to realize, wait a second, hold on, this isn't working out very well. Paid models become hot. They're the rave. The only ones that were making any money were guys charging for something, okay? Then something happened. More money came into the market, 2005 or so, and really it was probably through 2009, 2008. A lot of companies ended up repositioning themselves as a media company. They didn't have to make money anymore. Let's go back to the eyeball model. We're going to generate a bunch of advertising revenue. And the ad rates they're still terrible and they're getting worse. So didn't people learn anything from this? That's what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm trying to get you to avoid repeating history. The ad model doesn't work. So here's my prediction for the future. This is a crazy one. Some people might shoot me, I don't know. Because click rates are going down, ad CPM rates are going down, at a minimum, I think banner ads in the future are going down. I think they're going to disappear in the future. Yay. Yes. You guys don't click on them anyway. Think about your own usage, your own behavior. This is a smart group. You know what the ad looks like. You don't even pay attention to it. Am I right? Don't run advertising. I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about this. So we've tried it, it just doesn't work. And it's going to go away. Here's another prediction for the future. Everybody in this room, if you're building something, you're doing something on the internet, you're going to charge for something in the future. Like I wrote here, you should, and you'll find out that it actually works, whether you believe it or not, and we'll talk about that. If you want to sustain and grow, the ad model is not the way to go. You're going to charge for something. So that's what I want to talk about. So one thing I want to talk about is it's not wrong for you to charge. A lot of people feel bad charging, but you have real costs. You have a real business, and you need to pay for those costs, develop better products, produce content, and make money so that you can support it all. I hear these quotes all the time because I talk about this quite a bit, right? But customers don't want me to charge. Customers want everything for free. I don't think you're doing your customers a service by going out of business. You can attract a bunch of customers to your site. They can love it. If you don't make money, you're going to disappoint them in the end. Everybody loses. Here's another one. My site and content isn't worth paying for. How do you know? If you haven't actually tried to charge for what you're offering, you're blowing it and you don't know. Don't make this assumption. It's wrong. Let your customers vote with their credit cards. That's it. Amen. And prove it out. It's worth at least taking a shot at that. So, people are willing to pay. Forget reading all the text here. This is actually a little outdated. The paid content market is supposed to reach almost $11 billion this year. Actually, I read another article and saw some charts that I could not find that talk about how paid content growth is actually exceeding advertising revenue growth. Another thing to note is that some of the biggest kind of publications out there that, some of the biggest publications out there like Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, those kinds of sites, content sites in particular, it's funny. The only ones that grew in 2010 were those that charged. Those are the only ones that have been growing. The guys with the pure ad model, dying. The good news is these guys, like I said, are ahead of the curve in testing different models. Everybody's looking at running a paid model. Here's some information from Forrester. Forecast that by 2017, this is in Europe. Okay, so this is the best I could do. 20% of tablet users will pay for news. Online game buying population will increase by 27%, and 60% of video buying will be digital, and the number of music subscribers will double. I have 10 minutes? Really? You guys probably only want me to spend 5, right? Okay. All right. So let's get into it a little bit here. You need to test different revenue models and be open-minded to the possibilities out there. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. So I run mylife.com. I'm using us as an example here. We have what's called a freemium model, right? Freemium models are getting more attention. You know why? Because they're working. So we've been in business for a long time. And what is a freemium model? It's a model where you have a lot of services or information for free, and some of it's paid, very simply. And so most of our services are free. And then we have a handful of premium services and content that are valuable enough to charge for, and customers do pay. So we're fortunate now to have 62 million registered members, and many of our members, not sharing the information, but a lot of them, a strong percentage of them, actually are willing to pay for the premium services as optional upgrades. And they generate enough revenue for us to be profitable. I'm able to support a 100-person team. And last year I spent $20 million in marketing. And I was able to support all of that because I charge, Don't get me wrong, you should, your product, service, information is important. But again, my message here is not to be afraid of this model. This is the model of the future. So let's talk about paywalls. Has everyone heard about paywalls in the market? A lot of newspapers, are starting to adopt paywalls. A lot of the media companies that are really struggling, totally desperate, are grasping at, different models, testing models, and paywalls are working. They do work, and you should try it. You'll be shocked. So New York Times launched paid subscriptions in March 2011, and what happened? Generated 600,000 subscribers, $91 million in the last 12 months. Isn't that wild? A lot of people say, oh, but I could get that same information somewhere else, It's not going to be worth it. No one's going to pay for this. Bullshit. They will. It's worth it. It's worth it to a lot of people, and you don't know really who. Gannett estimated their paywall was a $100 million annual revenue source to them. So these are media companies, of course, but the paywall works for anyone. Okay. Oops. How much money can I make by charging versus generating revenue from advertising? I wrote here, let's do some simple math, okay? Back of the envelope, back of the presentation, math here. And what can happen to you? What's going to be the result for your business? Potentially. Assume 1,000 people visit your site or your app or whatever it is, right? Assume only 2% pay for what you're offering. You can even drop those numbers down, but let's make that assumption. 2%. 1% doesn't really matter. With the 2% paying, you have then 20 of those 1,000 visitors paying for your service. And even if they only paid an average price of $5, and as I wrote here, Wall Street Journal, other sites are charging hundreds of dollars. Our average ticket is something like $65 for our service. Wall Street Journal up to $500. Just from that 2% paying an average of only $5, you just made a $100 eCPM, or an RPM for the guys that are in the paid world, right? eCPM is for the guys that are used to charging for advertising. That's your effective CPM. $100. Anybody making $100 here besides the guy in the white shirt? No? Come on. It's amazing, and you can do much better than this. So compare that versus the $5 CPM you would have made otherwise, right? And that's if you're lucky, as I wrote here. It's crazy. The world just doesn't know it yet, but the world is going to catch on to this change. So what happens? You can see at the bottom. Now, oh my God, you have capital. Now you actually made money so you can pay people, develop more great products, produce more content, and even spend money marketing your site or service and drive more traffic into your service with your newfound capital. Isn't that amazing? Again, just repeating myself, because we charge with our freemium model in mylife.com, we were able to spend $20 million last year in marketing. We spent $35 million the year before that, actually, and did it profitably. Pretty wild. Okay, something It says, did you ever notice, look around while you're surfing the web, did you ever notice that the only companies that are actually advertising online are companies that sell something? That make money from selling something rather than selling advertising on their site or service? Take a look. You start to notice there's a reason the ad model those guys that have an ad model cannot afford to spend money to attract customers. Most. They're the rare exception. Facebook has all the money in the world, all the traffic in the world. Lucky them. Amazing business. Profitable. They have capital to spend. I know they're spending money to attract an international audience. You're not Facebook. You're not Google. You're going to need to spend money, and you'll be able to use that capital to grow your business, sustain the business, and actually potentially take out your competitors if you have any, especially the ones that don't make a shift. The ad model is dying. The world is changing, right? Ad model is dying for most, as I mentioned. So I'm encouraging everybody here to open their mind, look at all of the options, explore different models, and avoid raising capital. Raising capital is not a revenue model. You're wasting time talking to VCs, running around and everything else when you can be making money and taking control of your own future. Last thing, so these are some resources to help, and it's a little bit of a plug for one of the things that I started. First thing, search Google for business models on the web. There's a fantastic article from Professor Michael Rapa, and has a lot of different business models, revenue models for you to consider. Just read through those with an open mind, and you probably want to test several things. Advertising is the easy way. I know Google made it super easy to take that code, drop it on your site, and not worry about it and then get paid pennies for it. Go read this article, it's killer. I send this to people all the time. It'll spark a ton of ideas that I encourage you to try. And then if you want to try and charge, try a paywall solution provider. I started a company called MediaPass. I know they didn't really want me to plug, but it is the best solution for actually trying to charge. You take one line of code, you drop it on your site, and then they figure out what you can charge for. And they have publishers literally that are making like $1,500 to $2,000 eCPMs. Isn't that insane? We've got this one little site, can't mention their name. They have 40,000 visitors. Small, relatively speaking, 40,000 monthly visitors. Those guys are generating about 100 grand a month now off of that. Pretty wild. It works. So also, if you actually write to these guys, get in touch with them, and you actually mention me, believe it or not, they're so confident in the model, they'll pay you. MediaPass will pay you to try it. Sounds insane, right? They'll pay you more than you're making from advertising just to try it. And last thing, if you think I'm crazy, there's my email address. You can tell me I'm crazy. But really, the point of me being here and why I was doing this and wanted to talk about this topic, it's something I talk about quite a bit, but I want you to be successful. I don't want you to repeat history, and I want you to seize control of your future and make your business as great as it can be and control your destiny. That's it. So, questions?
What are the costs associated with starting to charge?
Questions are around starting to charge. It can get a little bit complicated. That's why some of the providers, it's actually a good idea to try at least to start with a provider, because actually MediaPass handles the billing, the recurring billing, the customer service, and everything for you. And they take a cut of the revenue depending on your size. And they optimize your pricing, the whole bit. It's, there's some work involved, but even if you don't use them, try and charge.
All right, let's give it up for
Okay.
Jeff. Fantastic.